Autobots, roll out!
Yeah.
Now we're live. This is TFYLP episode 133. You're with the Proto Man, and today we are going to be talking about Transformers. Now, we're with our prestigious line of people. I guess I'll do it from left to right here. We got Seen at every BotCon, Seen at every TFCon, the Megamus. If you've been to a parts party, you've probably bought something from him. Maybe.
I hope so.
He probably has some of your money at some point. Everywhere around North America, someone's chump change is in his pocket. We have Brett, Megamus, Megatoy fan. Call him what you will. Welcome to the show.
I wish to thank everyone. That's why my lights are on, is because people give me money. That's good. See? I'm happy.
His heating is because of you.
That's right.
We also have, from BotCon fame too, if you want Headmaster RC, probably was because of him. We have Headmaster Don.
Hey, everybody.
And if you've been to the message boards at cybertron.ca, TFW 2005, or you might know him as Brycey with his nice little Micromaster display. That's what I know him for. We got Brycey.
Hey.
The transsexuals know him for something else, but that's okay.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's correct.
So, as expected,
That's the next podcast over.
yeah, that's the after show.
That's this way.
That's the other Headmaster podcast.
Click here.
Yeah. So,
That's the Headmaster podcast.
yeah.
Oh, and don't forget our furry mascot.
Oh, where's
We have a
Massey?
furry.
We do.
We have to have
Not
our
the Fury
mascot.
that you're thinking of, you know, I mean.
Yeah.
But
He is right there.
Doing his thing. What is he next to?
I don't know. He's looking at her like,
Next
what
to
the hell do you want?
Minerva.
Yeah. And Sailor's Jupiter.
Fucking
Right now
Minerva.
he's looking at you going like, I'm going to mess you up so bad. For saying,
No, I was late getting home and giving him his food.
oh, he's pissed.
His food. Well, now he's had food since then, so he's okay. You want what? Well, come on.
So in case you haven't realized, we're here today to talk about Transformers. We're going to do a little bit of discussion of recent stuff that has been in the news, opinions of that, and then we're going to have a little discussion about mint in box versus loose versus FAA graded, which is going to be a loaded topic in itself. So the first thing I want to touch on recently is on Hisashi Yuki's Twitter account. He recently posted some new images of the Takara Legends RC, which is what we know as Generations RC, and just how different it is from the home state one that we're going to get from Hasbro. And I mean, there's a lot of really good comparison images here showing like it is. I mean, this Legends one is super show accurate. It's pretty crazy. And also, he mentioned in his little like Twitter, he mentioned that the whole thing probably would have not happened if not for some art that was actually done by Kissplay legend himself, Yuki Oshima. So like pretty much the guy in charge of Kissplay and their designs was the guy who pretty much made RC happen. Like he drew up a very realistic design, showed it to Takara Tomy, and they're like, we like that, make that happen. And so pretty interesting stuff that we learned, and not to mention these photos. I mean, the new recent one that we've seen is with the Masterpiece Spike / Daniel exosuit, and it looks great. It looks incredible. I mean, I'm looking at my Generations one that I have on pre-order, and I'm going like, oh, it's apples and oranges. It really is. I mean, what about you guys?
Well, obviously I'll be getting one of each. The Japanese one will be display robot mode because the black on the figure really throws it off for me. I mean, I can see they're trying to harken back to the figure.
Wait a minute. Not to sound too Futurama, but keep it nipple high. Raise the camera just a hair. Just a hair. There you go. Now we're not talking to Massey and your nipples.
I figure people was even more Massey than more of me then.
Whatever you want to say is all right with us.
I was giving the audience what they want. Now,
Oh, wait. No. Oh.
I can see why they put the black on the RC figure to sort of correlate with the Energon RC that we got several years ago. Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
Yes.
But I like I want to display one in robot mode, the Japanese one in robot mode. The American one will be car mode. Just because I like both versions, and I'll definitely be getting both.
I do agree. Like especially when there's some really good images showing the animation model from the '86 movie, comparing it to the Karatami release, and there's a lot more effort and paint applications to make it 100% show accurate for the Japanese one. And yeah, you look at the American one, and you do see the visual cues from the Energon Superlink toy, and it's one of those things. Do you like lipstick? Do you not like lipstick? There hasn't been any images thus far that show the Takara Tomy one with the little Energon blades, but I'm going to assume it probably also does come with it.
Yeah, there's one with the card mod.
It does? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I haven't really seen, and same thing, a few of the shots that I've seen, it looks like the gun is smaller in a different color, but it's just, the thing is too, is that all the images that we have that we've seen outside of, say, the BotCon that just passed, all the images that we've seen of RC that we're used to, which are all these stock images, are kind of photoshopped a bit also, so it's not really the final product. So I can't wait for when this toy comes out on both sides of the ocean, and then we're going to have some really good side-by-side comparisons, and we'll really know what's missing. But right now, for me, even though, to my knowledge, somewhere like TF Source has it for $29.99, the Takara one. You're pretty much paying double for a deluxe, but you're really getting something that's super show accurate. It's pretty crazy.
What is wrong with you? Why are you going crazy? Don't be crazy.
Cats are crazy.
Yep. Okay. Now you go.
I'll be going Japanese, I think.
Oh, I think that most people, if they had to pick one, they'll definitely go.
The
go
black
Japanese.
kind of breaks it up. Makes it look like
really
a Lego
does.
set or something.
And it's funny too, because they put it all where more or less the joints are. I don't know if it was maybe also because of a plastic issue, maybe because black plastic has more tolerance when it's molded in that color. I don't know, but it's very funny that it's where all the joints are. Where with the Takara one, they just kept the white and they kept going in those areas. So it's very weird. It might be the gang molding also, because it looks like the white is present in the same areas on the other one. It's one of those things that when I have it in hand, it'll definitely reveal all those questions.
The main
tires are black on the Hasbro one versus gray.
Yeah, that's kind of why I want that one for the vehicle mode, because it's a little more accurate in vehicle mode. Versus, but a lot of people, of course, everyone's asking me, Don, are you disappointed it's not a headmaster? On a mold that size, you couldn't have a headmaster feature that wasn't a safety hazard. There's just no way to pull that off.
You know what? If eHobby was still really doing their thing, we would have got a Headmaster Chrome Dome RC.
Yeah. I'm hoping with the Masterpiece line actually in a unified scale now, scale in quotation marks. So far everything's hitting pretty good, but I'm hoping maybe we'll eventually get a Masterpiece RC with Headmaster, because that would have the part count and the mass to support the feature.
Well,
otherwise, I'm happy with this figure as is.
There's also the kind of the hyperbolic thinking where you could go well, we have Brainstorm and Generations. If they continue that route, and we do see the other Autobot Headmasters, not so much Fortress Maximus, but say the other three, and then I could see, honestly, if Chrome Dome happened, and we have a legitimate Headmaster Chrome Dome, I could see BotCon just going you know what, Headmaster RC, let's do this. I could see that being a at show attendee exclusive, or even something part of a box set.
Or probably if they're smart, they would make it part of the subscription service.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't see that as a retail thing, as a repaint, but I could totally see that as a fan club exclusive, whether it be through a BotCon or through the fan club, because it's a niche. It's one of those things like Die-On when it came out. It's one of those things that you can't imagine it in retail, but it's something that they could pull off in the club. Where with the club you could do practically anything. You know, like I look at the club exclusive, I'm like, hey, there's UK Thundercracker, there's Toxitron using the animated molds. Like, I mean, anything is possible with the club. So
I still want a mass UK Thundercracker. It would be so hideously beautiful.
I think we had Mr. Chad Williams, Mr. Chad Williams, join us. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Mobile Chad Williams.
Yeah, you can actually see me and everything. What's up, everybody?
Holy crap, keep your eyes on the road, damn it.
He's driving.
It's all right. There's nobody out here with me.
You're like, oh shit, and go, shh.
Yeah, watch out for the deer.
Well, it looks like we lost Chad. We'll get an update on
if that does happen, just call 911 and tell them I'm on I-70 somewhere in Indiana.
Yeah, but no one here knows anything about Indiana, so you're fucked.
Yeah. Well, see, for some reason I'm now thinking about Dukes of Hazzard, and we see him jumping an empty an old bridge that's broken.
All right, Chad, give me your best. Yeah! Come on.
I can't do that.
Oh, because you're driving, or because you just can't?
Yeah. The scary thing is that watch an announcer come on and say, "Will Chad make it over the bridge and avoid Sheriff Roscoe Coltrane?" We'll find out after these messages.
That Indiana boy sure had it coming to him. We'll find out after these messages.
Well, Chad, what do you think of Generations RC? How stoked are you? Because you can't be as stoked as me. No one can be as stoked as me.
There ain't no one that's as stoked as you, but that's not the point.
I personally, I don't collect anything besides Masterpiece, and I could care less.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, slam!
Wow.
So get back
right in the face.
When I get an RC Masterpiece, then.
Yeah. I've limited everything. So Masterpiece is it, and I don't even pay attention to all the other crap that Hasbro decides to put out on the shelves.
Oh my gosh,
you have the camera.
That's like a verbal
crotch. What the hell are you doing?
It's like driving and talking with my hands, all that shit,
Yeah, but you're like
focus on the road. Let him focus on the road.
He keeps looking at his crotch, though. I mean, that's not right.
It's a stick shift. Leave him alone.
You know what's funny?
That's even worse.
Every time I'm on this podcast with Brett, he's always talking about my crotch. I don't know what the deal is, but
it's because you keep looking at it. I mean, what the hell?
You can go back several episodes, and he talks about my crotch all the time.
Look, all I'm saying is for someone that looks at his crotch so much, unless you're Michael Jackson, you have no reason to look and touch your crotch that much.
I'm only 15 minutes into hosting the show.
You are definitely not Michael Jackson.
Hey, I'm just as white.
All over again.
Doesn't matter. You're definitely not as talented.
Okay, well, on a tangent, Chad. You and I have never talked. I don't believe in the past.
So you're lucky.
Yeah, you can only collect masterpieces. What do you think about Bumblebee? Have you got Bumblebee yet?
Bumblebee is actually at my post office waiting on me to pick him up in the morning.
Same story.
Yeah, because I brought this up. I'm also on RFC, in case you didn't know, and I had brought up that maybe if Bumblebee was a solid figure at that size, we might be able to see combiner toys at that price point. I mean, is that something you want to see, or would you rather see it done differently if we get a Masterpiece combiner?
Or would you rather just look at your crotch?
As much fun as it is to look at my crotch and to hear Brett talk about it, we'll talk about.
I got you on tape. You are for posterity.
Man, you just got your age.
Daniel, I tried. I tried my best.
First off, we just got your age in there, tape. That's like 1980s, man. Go ahead and join us in the 2000s.
Listen, Mr. Truck Driver. All right.
That's not an encroachment.
But
Anyways,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
masterpiece combiners. I love the idea. I don't ever see them doing it. They may. I mean, the rumor was they're coming out with that Titan class Devastator or whatever. I think that's probably as close as we'll get.
I agree. I think that right now Hasbro is just trying to get the combiner war thing out of their system through any means possible. To go up to that price point, I think would be crazy for them. Look at third party. They can't even really deliver something of a masterpiece scale for combiners. To say for Hasbro to do something like that, it would be way out there. Way out there.
Well, if nothing else, with Bumblebee being seen as a pretty solid figure, I know some folks have issues with like the hollow forearms, but you can only put so many panels to cover so much stuff. But at least now we've got a mini bot size that we can get mini bot characters at.
I could definitely see more mini bots coming down the pipeline. That for sure. Like, I could see a cliff jumper down the line. I could definitely see 84, 85. From what I could tell, it seems like the long run for Masterpiece is 84, 85. Get those guys out of their system. Maybe dabble here and there. Put an 86 character. I mean, we got an Ultra Magnus down the pipeline. But in general, it's going to be a lot more 84, 85. I could totally see down the line we're getting our Trailbreaker. We're going to be getting our Sunstreaker. It's just a matter of time. It really is.
Maybe Victory Leo. Maybe.
Well, yeah.
You got.
Victory Leo will probably be based on the success of how Star Saber does. If Star Saber sells well, then we're going to have something similar to like what happened with X Kaiser and Dragon Kaiser, where there will be a supplemental Masterpiece toy to make it happen. Let's put it this way. I will not be surprised when we all pick up our Victory Leos and we're going to see Victory Leos, Star Sabers, then we're going to see pegs and ports and stuff that are designed in there with the intent of a future toy if it does happen.
I think you mentioned in one of the posts that there was designed for that.
So there you go. Well, it's kind of like with the original Star Convoy where there was stuff designed on it with the intent of combining with other stuff, which never happened. But it was found in the Brave line later.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing that,
Well, my best friend bought Grandis for the interconnection ability of the figures. And I went ahead and bought Dagbase to save $200+. So I was happy with Dagbase, but he wanted Grandis for that interconnection.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. There's I can imagine Star Saber will probably do well in Japan. I mean, I don't think we'll ever really see him here stateside. I don't see any reason for them to make the effort to do that. If it's so difficult to get a Sideswipe over here, Star Saber would be kind of out of the question.
Well, Sideswipe's more licensing than it is, anything else, right?
Yeah, it's that too, but I'm pretty sure that at Sideswipe's price point, it would have been a lot more manageable for a collector market in America than a big Star Saber. I can only imagine what they would ask for him in retail. $200. What retailer would want to carry a $200 Transformer when stuff like even Metroplex was such a like already that's like pushing the envelope.
Well, one thing I was saying earlier is on RFC and here that if Ultra Magnus's price point is equivalent to Soundwave's, and it's close, it's about what, $30 roughly difference.
I could believe that with all the extra stuff Soundwave came with too.
Yeah. So if they can bring Soundwave over and give us 5 cassettes for $129 roughly, if Ultra Magnus and Star Saber can be brought over at the same Japanese price and be translated into an American U.S. price about the same thing as our Soundwave, it would be their big ticket item already ready to go for that year.
Well, for me, it's more so just a character standpoint. I think that I don't think Hasbro's confident in marketing Star Saber here just yet. You know what I mean? It's not one of those characters. I mean, if you read the IDW comics, they've dabbled in him a little bit. And yeah, hey, Hasbro through Shout Factory put out the Victory DVDs and stuff. But in general, I don't think they would want to take such a big high risk on such a premium item that already has issues. Like it has to. It's at this point, it's going to be a Toys R Us exclusive. It's going to be in the collector section of Toys R Us, which is known as their R zone in the video game section. I can't see them going that route. I mean, I really just see them keeping it in the Japanese market, and then us hoping that it does really well in the Japanese market, and then we will see a Victory Leo, which wouldn't be too hard to engineer, because that was same thing even with Star Saber. Like I look at that toy, and there wasn't too many. You didn't have to reinvent the wheel too much with that toy. There wasn't too much that you had to really do. Like a lot of the other Masterpiece toys. I know looking at like even Wheeljack, Wheeljack's a prime example of kind of really reinventing the wheel, and even with, oh my God, Hot Rod was another one, even regardless if you agree with the final product or not. There were certain toys that were really like that. Star Saber looks like they really just kind of added articulation in specific areas, a few gimmicks, and Victory Leo probably would be another one of those blocky characters that the animation model was pretty on, even with the original toy, and so there's just a matter of modernizing it to make it happen.
Well, let me interject something totally different from a different perspective.
No problem.
I have no clue up until the Victory series came out. I had no clue who Victory Saber was. So
well, he only
how many people?
So
how many people out there that are modest collectors, not extreme collectors or anything like that, or just modest collectors, are going to actually know who Victory Saber is? And
no one.
And so I mean, seriously, how much of a niche market are you getting into
for an expensive product? That's
for a very expensive product.
Well, that's why, like, it's one of the, like, you go to Toys R Us now and you see all the Acid Storms and the Sun Storms that are kind of sitting there. Like this, Hasbro is going to learn slowly through the mistakes that are happening through the Masterpiece line, where to invest, what characters to use. A Grimlock will always do well. A Prowl will do well. An Acid Storm, those are the shelf warmer. Like Acid Storm is the quintessential shelf warmer of the Masterpiece line.
I haven't seen one in 6 months in Toys R Us.
He was.
You see those new green toys at the dollar store?
Yeah, those. But yeah, like it's just to me, I think Hasbro is seeing what is selling, what isn't. And I mean, Acid Storm isn't too. He's the least expensive of the two. Like he shipped with Soundwave, and he was for character reasons, he was the less popular of the two, regardless of price points and engineering. It's just Star Saber. I love Star Saber, but I just can't see him. Not to mention even the name. I mean, they're going to have to call him Wing Saber. I don't see them calling him Star Saber because of the confusion that Hasbro created when Armada brought in the Star Saber character of the sword.
But hopefully most everybody's forgotten that by now.
They put it with the original 13 fiction. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's right.
It's something that Hasbro. It started first as a name licensing thing, where it was just like, I mean, Armada was just like, hey, we need to license some names. Let's put Star Saber on that sword. But then the following series, Super Link, or as we know as Energon, when they had a Star Saber-esque character, they're like, we can't call it Star Saber. We just call it something Star Saber in Micron Legend and Armada in Japan over there. We can't call it Star Saber, so call it Wing Saber. And then they kind of ran with that, and then IDW brought over Star Saber, and they called him Star Saber. And then when there was that not prototype, but they did like test shots of Victory Saber for Robot Heroes, and that was like the only time we would have had an American product of that character, which was those little Robot Heroes that never got produced in the end. I believe it came with Death Source, if I remember correctly. But that one was going to be called Victory Saber. So, but then you're saying, well, then we should do a Victory Saber 2-pack. Whoa, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. It's just, how would they market that? It would be so difficult to do something like that. They'd have to call it a different name, and now you're confusing people even more. I think that when it comes to
not only that, but
go ahead.
Sorry, Dick.
No, go ahead, bro.
Not only that, but they really need to think about when they do those Toys R Us exclusives.
Oh yeah.
You know when you put out two characters, and let's use Soundwave and Acid Storm for a prime example. You know, they put them in boxes together, shipped them over here, and you knew Soundwave was going to sell. Everybody knew Soundwave was going to sell.
To the extreme.
You know, and then they put in Acid Storm with it. Why didn't they just put a box full of Soundwaves and send it over here, and then put Acid Storm in a different group? You know, that way he would have with another mediocre character.
I think it was Hasbro just kind of going like, well, we need to put two Masterpiece toys out. What molds do we have at our disposal? They just kind of came off the Seeker Jets. They did the Thundercracker that happened with the, let's call it the Generations Masterpiece.
I agree.
Right.
You know,
I
they
agree.
just had
They
that
just threw something out.
Yeah, they were probably
Back
like, well, we have that Thundercracker mold from the Generations Masterpiece that was, I believe it was Walmart's. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think
Toys R
Walmart
Us.
carried that. Was it just Toys R Us? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if it being from Quebec, like I saw any of that in retail. So it's one of those things that they probably just said, look, we need a smaller Masterpiece mold. And, I mean, you have to remember the timeline of that. You know, Lambor wasn't on the table, neither was the Datsuns. Prowl wasn't a factor. Wheeljack was not even a thought in the head. So they probably looked at what molds they had at their disposal in America that was designed to match those. You know, let's say if there was safety measures, and you had those Seeker Jets that were just sitting around. So they're like, you know, we already did Starscream, we already did Skywarp, we already did Thundercracker. They probably didn't think about Sunstorm yet. They're like, hey, what do we have trademarked right now? Well, we have Acid Storm. We did a Generations toy not too long ago. And then we did a Creon not too long ago, also of Acid Storm, which is why Creons even exist, just to keep trademarks fresh.
Yeah.
So they probably just said, well, let's fucking pull the trigger on Acid Storm and make it happen. And that's probably the short story of it. How that happened. I mean, yeah, you could say they could have just done Soundwaves across the board and it would have done successfully well, and I don't disagree with you. I think they would have made a lot more money if it was just a 4-case of Soundwaves. But I think they just wanted to put... Go ahead.
Or even Starscream. I mean,
I think while it would have been the easy route to, totally do Starscream, but I think they just wanted to do something different.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of times they don't really think and go, yeah, well, I'm pretty sure people would want Starscream, but then the designers go, yeah, but we want to do something fun, you know, like that. There's that conflict there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
A lot of times, like that's why when we get ugly repaints, you know, you go to the Hasbro product preview panel at BotCon and you get like, you know, the designers going like, oh, here's this really fun one we thought up, and then we look at it and go, man, that's fucking ugly. But you know, it's hard to see it from their perspective. You know, sometimes they just want to do something that's fun. I mean, if you look at the Acid Storm, you look at the wing deco, and it's like, oh, it's kind of like 8-bit pattern going on the wings there, and like it's like a jungle 8-bit Contra thing going. I don't know how to describe it, but like they just wanted to do something fun, and regardless if it was good or not. I mean, that's a matter of personal opinion. One person might like it.
Yeah, you're right about that, Daniel. We're definitely two people that can't get, or we're definitely people that can't see from their point of view. I don't think we can get our heads that far up our asses. Sometimes. Sometimes. Not all the time.
Oh, definitely me. Yeah. It's one of those things that it's hard to imagine. But I mean, the way that the Masterpiece line is going now, I could totally see from how I see it is everything's being done in pairs in America. We just got Prowl and Grimlock out of the system. Grimlock, obviously, because of a movie. That was probably their primary reason for doing that. More than anything else. So the next ones, I could see Wheeljack, maybe Lambor. There's that rumor of that price point Ultra Magnus there. I could see that, I guess, like what Don said. So it's a very strong possibility. We'll see. It's with, you know, BotCon is 6 months away or so. We'll find out then. Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah.
Sorry. 6 months away. Jeez. Time flies. Yeah. Felt like TFCon was yesterday. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. So we'll move on to the next topic, I just wanted to talk about. We'll go around the room with this one. We had 2 new reveals for the Mega Drive Megatron. We have a lucky draw that was shown, and now there's a Takara Tomy Arts exclusive one, which is done in the Sega Genesis colors. I mean, for people that are really big video game collectors, there's actually quite a visual difference between the Mega Drive, which is the Japanese version of the Sega Genesis, was what we had in America. And actually, it was called the Mega Drive in the UK also. And so, I mean, there's little aesthetic differences there. Like the one thing that I want to point out is there's actually different cartridges with each version. The Mega Drive, the very first Mega Drive Megatron, came with the Japanese version of Sonic the Hedgehog. The Lucky Draw one, which was revealed yesterday, which is a gold version, comes with Bare Knuckles, which is what people know in America as Streets of Rage. And now they revealed this Sega Genesis one that's done in the American Sega Genesis colors, and that comes with an American cartridge of Sonic the Hedgehog. And I'm curious if any of you guys, if this is something that barks up your alley of interest or something. I know it does with me personally as a big video game collector. I do find that it's a little expensive for what you're getting and the size, but in general, I dig it. I don't know, we'll go around the room. Anyone else, does this interest you at all, this stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely want one.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully do secure the Genesis one. If not, just the Mega Drive.
The one thing that kills me with this whole thing was when I found out that they want to do a PlayStation Optimus, and I was like, but I was like, how did they miss up on the opportunity to, instead of doing a Famicom, they could do a Famicom Voy. I don't know how they missed that opportunity to do that wordplay, but whatever. That's just me, like going like, PlayStationist Prime, like that's, I don't know, that doesn't roll off the tongue like Famicom Voy, like that would have been cooler. Anyways, I don't know, Brett, Don, Chad, what do you think? I know Chad, you're probably not going to care, it's overpriced garbage for you, but the other two, at least.
Well, I am something of a retro gamer, but it's more, I like when I was growing up in the 80s, it was the arcades. If I had a home system, I had an Atari.
Atari 2600, yeah.
Atari 2600, exactly. Or I had a friend that had a ColecoVision. I had another friend that had the Intellivision.
Intellivision, yeah.
Well, and my friend with the ColecoVision had the Atari adapter.
Beauty.
So
I totally get you. That was my first system too, actually, was the 2600. But I'm old.
Now, but I mean, I like it, and I would like to have one at some point, just for the sheer novelty of it. But I think
one of those things. I'm telling you, it's expensive now, but I think that it's going to drop.
Yeah.
I think people are like, I mean, because I've seen it in person, and I was like, man, it is small. It is really small. It's something that I get a feeling that the price is being influenced by the license. It's kind of like those when we had those Disney label Transformers, and those things were like $60, $70, and then you would see them, and they were like a beefy deluxe at best, and you're like,
yeah, class.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, like it's. I really want it, but it's like $110. Do I really want it? And it's like, they're not big. They really are not. You're gonna see it and you're gonna be like, wow. Don't picture a Sega Genesis in your hands. Like it's not that. Not even close.
I'm trying to find the picture now, but
yeah, there was some comparison photos that someone had next to figures, and I was like, whoa, that's really small.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm one of the ones I would have preferred the Family Convoy as well.
Oh man, yeah.
Just because it made more sense.
It's not only that, like recently Takara did their Q Transformers. They're doing this throwback to the Mystery of Convoy game. They're showing that old Nintendo roots and stuff. How did they not? And someone did this great. I don't have it like on hand, but someone did this great concept. They were showing like, well, what if they did do a Family Convoy? I think the only reason why they didn't in the end is because if you do a PlayStation looked the same in America as it did in Japan, so it's universal. That toy, it would have an appeal. Where if they did a Family Convoy, the Famicom looks vastly different from the Nintendo in America, so it would have been two different toys completely if they would have done something for both sides of the pond, so to speak. But But the thing is, what I was thinking, I was like, but it would have been so much better if they just stuck to the Family Convoy, because you have the Family Convoy, which would have been Optimus Prime, and anyone who really knows the Famicom in Japan, then you have the disc system, which was the attachment port. That could have been the roller trailer thing. Like, I don't know, it would have been so cool to do that.
Well,
Like,
I'm not sure. The link I just put in the chat for us, I don't know where that artwork came from. It was sent to me by a friend, so whoever did the artwork, all credit toward them. But
maybe Bryce, you were showing the images before. If you could open it up for us, screen share.
Just give me a second.
If the Optimus looked like that, I would have bought both just because of the way they would look together.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, like, that thing, man. Like it looks, and again, it looks amazing. And see, like, for people that don't realize, like his left gun, which is the Player 2 controller, it had the microphone on it. There were so many cultural differences that the Japanese Nintendo, the Famicom, had compared to what we had in America. And I think that's the primary reason why they went with PlayStation over Nintendo. Yeah. But I think it would have just been so much more fun if they would.
I just love the way that Prime looks.
The colors are better too. It's a white and red, the original Famicom. You know, it's weird. Again, it had to be that probably was the straw that broke the camel's back. Was just that the PlayStation looks the same with both. Same thing with the Mega Drive. The Mega Drive looked the same before it went to version 2 in America, but it more or less looked the same regardless of what country you're in.
But I do think Megamus. I think he's got three on order at this point. I think.
Do you, Brett?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
You're gonna have to bug him on the boards. Then
maybe.
Or bug him at a convention when that comes.
I'm really excited for the PlayStation 1 too, though. I played the hell out of the PlayStation.
Of that?
Well, you know what? Like, I'm going to wait until they drop in value a little bit. I think they're just a little too pricey right now for what they are. Like, I mean, something that literally is more expensive than a lot of the Masterpiece toys we're getting today. And it's a lot smaller, and it's not super complex. It's like I mean, I don't want to, like, you know, be derogatory, but it really has that real gear kind of engineering. I don't know, but it literally is. I mean, if you look at how many transformation steps there are for that Megatron, it's pretty simple. Looks pretty simple, so that's just me.
There was one on Yahoo Japan for 56k yen last week.
That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
So if I can get them both around there,
I'd dig it. Oh yeah, I'd dig it. For 56k, which is barely $70. Well, actually, the yen's pretty good now. I'd totally do it at that price. 110, I don't know about that plus shipping, but
no.
56, yeah, for sure.
Under 100.
Yeah, definitely half that. No problem.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts before we move on to the next thing? Boys. Video games that turn into robots. Oh, no. So, what we're going to do then is we're going to go to the main topic, which we're going to be talking about today, which is the Minton box. Well, we'll let Brett take the reins of that.
Oh, well, I went from... It's kind of unusual in my collecting habits, where I went from where I had a whole bunch of boxed items, and then I sold the boxes, kept the loose, bought more loose, and then when I got everything loose, I went to the next stage, which was to get the box, the tech specs, and then eventually the inserts, and then moved on to sealed and hopefully maybe AFA graded. So it got me to thinking. It got me to thinking. What's more important? What collecting aspect are you at? Are you at the loose, 100% complete, loose, as long as it's in one form, you're happy? I got to have it boxed. I got to have it pristine. I've got to have it so pristine that I want everyone to adore me. I want AFA graded. Those spectrums. And yeah, I use it at terms because, hell, I'm towards that way anyway, and I want everyone to adore me, so, you know, hell with it. So, my question was, and I threw this out towards everyone, where are you at? Are you at the loose stage, incomplete, or are you at the totally other end of the spectrum where you want the most pristine AFA? I got to have some company that I've never heard of tell me that my crap is good and put it on a label. Where are you at? And I thought we could just go around the room here, quote unquote room, and see where everyone's at.
I guess we'll start with Don.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, when I got started in '84 collecting, most of mine came from flea markets, garage sales. Most were in pretty good shape. My first couple came boxed. I was at a flea market called Super Flea, and I can remember the first four in order. The first four I got: Sludge, Beachcomber, Topspin, Twin Twist, and Warpath. After that, it gets a little fuzzy. But box was never really, mint and box was never really an option for me, even after I got older, because they're Transformers. If you don't take them out of the box, you can't transform them. So it was never really a thing for me until I started seeing, and I had the discretionary income. It's like, that's a nice box. I don't want to tear my box apart to get the figure out, because back in the day, you practically had to tear some of them apart to get them out. And so, like around when Generation started, there for a long time, I was buying box, and I was buying duplicates, one to keep open at box, because I liked the Generations trade dress. I've stopped since then because there's just so much Generations out now, and the trade dress has changed wildly. Used to, there was like a running theme there for a while. Even though the trade dress was different, you could still see the running theme. So I just gave up. There's too much stuff. Plus, with the advent of third party, that really took the need for duplicates of the same character down.
Oh,
I didn't need the money expenditures. It's like I had got a second Jetfire, Generations Jetfire, just because he looked so awesome in the box as he is, plus the box design. But I took it back because this is a $45 toy. I have Mania King on the way at the time. Do I really need another Jetfire when that pays for half a Mania King? And there's just not many that I'm going to buy boxed anymore, or again, just for necessity's sake. I think you're going to have to make the decision for yourself. In box is nice, and if you like the box, and if you can afford a second one to open, that's cool. But I'd say open them. Open them. Keep the box as best you can, because if you want to display it in box, you can always put it back in the bubble. In some cases, in the box, and if it's on a shelf, no one else will ever know it's not been opened.
Yeah.
So it's just, as far as AFA grading. See, I've always been a little worried about AFA grading because sooner or later that bubble's going to burst. And to me, it's like Beanie Babies. Sooner or later, it's going to bust.
Oh God.
And if it does, there'll be a lot of people with a lot of figures. Yes, they're really great figures, but that extra lack of crease is not going to garnish you what you paid for all the grading.
Oh, I agree completely. I do.
But I mean, if you are a Trailbreaker fan, Trailbreaker is your guy. He's your bro, and you run across a boxed Trailbreaker that's the bestest looking box you've ever seen. And yes, I used the word bestest. If you want that thing AFA graded so that way you know that box will never physically change again, go ahead and do it.
I see, and I agree that is probably the one exception, at least even in my cases. Again, as a Rodimus fan, I think that the only time I would ever find myself in that scenario would be like, okay, here's like FAA graded, affordable, Canadian packaging, mint and sealed box Rodimus. Maybe in that scenario, but in general, as an overall, yeah. But I'll get into my own individual feelings on all of that afterwards.
Yeah. Now, if I found like Action Master Omega Supreme on card, $25.
Yeah, well, I think in any scenario, yeah. I think a loose Action Master Omega Supreme, $25. I think I'd still pull the trigger, but
yeah. But I mean, you know, if it's something that you love, and it's your character, and there's a special renaissance there with you.
Oh yeah,
resonance, not renaissance.
Everyone has that one character that's their boy. You know, that's the character that you collect. You'll get multiples of them sometimes if he has a really good toy. Everybody has that. And then I can understand that under certain monetary situations. Yeah. I would agree.
But AFA grading for hedging your bet against the future, that's what caused the comic book crash.
Look at trading card guys today. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. Trading card guys, now it's like they won't buy a trading card unless it's graded. Like it's a whole, because it's so niche, that market now. Like, and the only reason why I know this is because I found a whole bunch of old trading cards of stuff that I had, and we're talking like 80s and 90s, which is the worst cards to try to sell anyways.
Yeah.
When I started looking into it, and it was like, if it's not graded, they don't want it. But that's because the market was so bloated and so niche at that point that it was like graded or not. Where us, I mean, there's so much of everything of Transformers. I mean, there's no, I mean, with the exception of a few niche, you know, Generation 1 Japanese stuff, everything is relatively easy to get with a couple of clicks away, in various different conditions, whether it be mint in box or loose complete.
Yes, I agree with you, especially that last sentence. Yes, it's easy to get. It's easier, but conditions do vary.
Yes, I do agree with that. Yes. And
so, Mike, here's where the dilemma comes in, and this is where I was going to make my stance, and I'll go a little early with it. If you have, I don't know, pick your favorite Transformer. Megatron. You have a Megatron. You have a boxed Megatron, and it has been opened. Okay, great. You're going to get it, and you're going to open it. You're going to transform it. And you're going to do whatever, and that's fine. Take the same toy, and let's say it's sealed. And okay, I like it. I put it on the shelf. It's fine, and I'm happy that way. Well, let's say it's in really good shape. Really good shape.
Yeah, case fresh from Consumers Distributing, still has the
factory
tape on it.
At that point, you think it justifies being AFA because you know in your heart you could never bring yourself to break in that tape and open it.
Oh, I wouldn't. I think the only time I did that was a Sky Gary, and that was only because they were plentiful.
Okay, so right then and there, for someone who would not AFA, who would not encase something, a transformer, because it needs to be transformed and played with, I've just given you the one option to where, yes, AFA is plausible, it makes sense.
I think in my scenario,
you're talking about different spectrums, though.
I think that if I found myself in a scenario where I was owning a Megatron of that quality, I think I would try to sell it to someone that probably would do it themselves. I wouldn't do it myself personally, but that's my own collecting habits of Transformers. Is that
correct? But I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I think.
Wait a minute. I'm telling you that I was at that point.
Yeah.
And I've moved on to the point to where I'm the guy you would be selling it to.
Yeah, well, that's just it. It would be like, if it was that good, I'd be like, you know what? I wouldn't want to open it because that would be sacrilege at that point.
Exactly.
Someone would be crying out there knowing that I did that. But at that point, I would say to myself, you know what? This Megatron, I could sell it to someone that would see the value. I would get a monetary gain out of it, and then I could put that money towards. Let's say I didn't have a Megatron. I just had this sealed, complete one. You know, this perfect graded one here. I would sell that one, and the money that I would get that one, I would put towards getting a loose. Even if I wanted to have an original vintage, not even a reissue, I put that money towards a loose one. And I'll tell you something: the amount of extra income that I'd probably have, even after purchasing that loose one, I could put towards then a sound wave and everything else. Like it's balancing the budget better, but based through my own collecting habits. You know,
But if it,
Correct. But
how
I'm
I've
telling
gotten to
you,
where I am because of it.
but I'm telling you that because I've heard of it and it's happened to me, more than likely. Now, I mean, everyone, there's always an exception to the rule, whatever. You're going to get to that point to where you will flip to the one that wants the perfect graded piece.
I think
It's not
that
out of the realm of possibility.
I
Maybe
think
not for
that would
you,
only
but I'm
happen
saying
to me.
in general.
It would only happen to me if, to quote Pokemon, if I got it all. But I think that the way that this hobby keeps going, and considering that I buy modern stuff, I don't think that'll ever happen. I think that it's
Right. I mean, that's the difference. I don't buy modern. So,
if
I
there's
have
someone-
a stopping point. You don't.
It's one of those things that if you focus only on G1, if you like, I mean, if I was someone that said I only get G1, then the amount of money that, like, I mean, I just look at my movie shelf, all of these pathetic figures that I bought at retail at full price. If I really
You said
thought
it,
about
I didn't.
well, no, but I will agree. But I look at this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it doesn't end. Every single movie toy ever made from Revenge of the Fall from 2000, like it keeps going. But it's one of those things that, let me just put this fucker down. It's one of those things that if I really thought about how much money was put into all of this, and it's crazy when you think about it, $14.99 a deluxe. It's scary. It is. But we're talking.
Don't do that, for that
Yeah,
way lies
I know
madness.
But it's one of those things that every dime that would have not been spent on these movie toys could have went easily to a Grandis, to a 6-turbo original operation combination, could have went into a Guard City, you know, could have went into a Battle Gaia easily. Like, when you really think about it, an entire wave of movie toys, 2-liter classes, 4 deluxes, a couple of legends. What else was the scales that existed back then? Either way, but when you really add that up quickly, that adds up to a Battle Gaia. Maybe not a Battle Gaia, but it adds up to a Star Saber Mint in Box or a Victory Leo for $400 at a BotCon. I mean, it adds up quickly. When you think an entire movie line, and you, Brent, who was not buying any of that, could have, again, and saving the money, not buying that stuff, and easily putting that income into movie stuff, movie stuff, G1 stuff, you easily got it all. Easily.
And you just depressed the hell out of me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I bought more. Looking back, I wish I hadn't bought half the movie stuff I bought.
Oh God! As a completist, you know, it was just it. When I hit Dark of the Moon, that's when it was like, you know what? Got to dial it back. Because Revenge of the Fallen, man, I look at Revenge of the Fallen is the biggest Transformer line of all time. The amount of space Revenge of the Fallen takes compared to G1, it's insane. I look at my classics display, which counts for classics, Universe 2.0, generations, and it's amazing. We're talking since 2006 up to now, and it barely takes any space, every figure from that entire line. I'm talking the repaints, I'm talking the Minicon 24 packs. Like, I got it all in one shot, and it barely takes any space. But the movie line, it's nuts. It just stretches as far as the eye can see, and like it's like it hurts my neck just looking at it, how much it is. But he saved all that money. He was able to get everything, literally. And when you get everything, and I understand this mentality, certain people, it's like, I'm only going to get my favorite characters. Well, now I got those favorite characters. Maybe I'll get these 2 other characters I like. Well, if I get 2 more characters, now I'll have the whole wave. Well, since I have the whole wave now, maybe I'll get the whole year. Well, now that I have the whole year, maybe I'll focus on the next year. Brett got to that point where he's gotten everything of G1, period, exclamation point. Now it's at that point, well, maybe I'll get some mint in box stuff now that I got them loose. Then you get them all mint in box. Then it's like, well, I'll pick up a few loose ones or loose complete ones that were rare. Oh, maybe I'll get some of these sealed ones too. You know what? Now I got all these sealed ones. Maybe I should get all these sealed ones of 86. Wow, this one that I got from 86 is in really good condition. Maybe I should grade this one. That I could see how the progressions with that.
Right, and I'm just going to grab this one because it's close, but then you get in the grading, and before you go to grading, because I haven't gotten that far yet, but then you get items, I mean, we've talked about before, the G2, you know.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know, groove. Well, I mean, no one's going to open that. We're not going to open it.
Yeah, that would
stuff
be
like that. You know, all that stuff. But that wasn't my point. What I was actually taking that out to show you is the other thing, and it's actually cheaper. And if you have something that say you wouldn't warrant getting it graded because maybe it is open or it's not in the best of shape. And I've started doing this. They have the display cases where I don't know how well this is going to show, but the bottom's open.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can put them in there so that they won't get damaged any further.
Oh, for display.
Exactly.
For display
and that's where I'm at now. And the problem is that when you've gotten all of the G1 line and you have, like for me, a bedroom, it fills up. It fills up quick, very quick, especially if you kind of dip into the third-party stuff too. That takes up a lot of room. And then you add that every carded figure or box figure you're going to supplement with a big old fat acrylic display case. It makes it even worse. So one of my arguments was going to be, and it's actually counter-arguing I like the display cases, is space.
Oh, space.
How much space do you have? Because that is a huge. It's not so much how much you want, how much you can afford, but then it's how much can you display? Because I have half of my collection here, and then the other half is in the basement doing nothing but sitting in a box.
The biggest problem with being a Transformer fan is every collection I've ever seen, and I mean big Transformer collections that I've ever seen, when it's loose, looks like a clusterfuck. And I mean a fucking clusterfuck.
Absolutely. Like, it looks like a garage sale jumble. Yeah.
It is very difficult to display, and I mean I'm very meticulous with by year, by design, by faction. But even then, to be able to not waste space and keep displaying, I mean, I look at what I have available still of space, and I say to myself, man, we have RID 2.0 coming out. I have space reserved for Generations and Masterpiece, but I mean, I'm only good for probably maybe two more years before this room's going to be maxed out, and that's scary when I think about it, because this is like this is Transformer floor. This is like it never ends. It never ends. It's just.
But it does. That's just it. Because the more you make room for, they'll make even more, and they do. Or there's just that much more out there to get, and that's where I'm at, and that's the problem, And like that's why I was jumping back to that. Do you get less? Do you go with less that's in better quality, or do you go for quantity? Quality or quantity?
Like a good example, like Chad here, probably the smartest route, and I've said this many times with people that if you're someone that's collecting Transformers, to focus more on Masterpiece because of the evolution of how Masterpiece is going now, it's probably the highest quality you could get, probably the best representations of the characters. I know a lot of guys that were Classics collectors have started to abandon very large portions of their Classics collection because of the advent of certain Masterpiece toys. I mean, anyone that probably picked up Lambor looked at their Classics, Sideswipe and went, "Why do I need this anymore?" Or why do
That's me right now. I've got my Prowl, the Prowl that I have.
Oh yeah, any of those.
It's on eBay right now, just because. And it's not because I don't still love the figure. But
it's just that character perfect representation.
He's got a better representation of it.
And also the fact, like I've said in the past, being, with us losing JD back in February, and me trying to help sell his collection for his family, that, again, we've talked about this before, that puts a lot of your collecting habits into perspective as well.
Of course. Yeah, well, and especially the evolution of how, like, to me, I always feel that Masterpiece is the be-all and end-all, the hot toys of owning a character. It's like
until the next thing comes out.
I hope not. I hope that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I really
you never know. I'm just saying.
I know
when you got the reissue of Prime in the 00 reissue box Takara, and you went, this thing is awesome. There's not going to be anything better. And then they came out with Masterpiece. Now, granted, they may have done it backwards. But you know what I mean. You think you have the best representation, and they come out with something better.
Yeah.
I like to look at MPO1 Optimus Prime when he was designed as an idea that wasn't thinking ahead. I think that now more than ever they have a really I think Masterpiece as a line has evolved to that point that they have a really good idea of what they're trying to do. And now now we're putting out Masterpiece toys like 5 a year. Like it's gotten to that point now that it wasn't like, oh, you got like one every year. Now it's gotten to that point that it is like 5 a year. They put out good product. It's not like they're low quality either.
No,
like
but
we got all the
out. I mean, let's
we
be honest. They got to keep them out.
We got the Lamborghinis out. We got the Exhaust is having its issues, but we got Wheeljack out right now. We got an Ultra Magnus in the pipes. We got a Star Saber coming. The Bumblebee is sitting in a mailbox right now. I mean, it really shows that
Star Saber though. They're all 84 characters. Other than Star Saber, they're all the first 2-year characters, and honestly, I could give a fuck less about those characters half the time.
But it shows that they're able to put out a lot of Masterpiece toys if needed. And again, I still believe that it is because it's the be-all and end-all of a character. Like when you own that Prowl, I can't imagine a better Prowl of the G1 design coming around outside of something being a non-transformable, really super articulated whatever, like what Hot Toys is trying to do with Optimus Prime right now, with those weird toys, but whatever. Yeah. Or like there was the another good example, the and again impressive but expensive, the Ulti-Metal series, the Ulti-Metal Optimus Prime. Again, really impressive in a lot of ways, kind of like, wow, that's a great representation of the G1 character, lights and metal and everything, but doesn't transform. And in this hobby, when there's that unwritten rule that if it doesn't transform, there's a little bit of like, it irks us. You know what I mean? It could be the most beautiful figure. Excuse me?
I liked Action Master.
Oh no, but I'm saying like when you have a character. Like when you have a character that transforms, like the character transforms, and it's like it's the most perfect representation of it. Like we've like the evolution of it. It's like here's G1 Prime, but he doesn't look like he does on the show. And then we got the Action Master, and it still wasn't there yet because it didn't transform. And then we got the what was it called there? Metal Force Optimus Prime, which came out around, I think it was like 1999, 2000, which was like, oh, here's this show-accurate Optimus Prime, still doesn't transform, opens chest, the Matrix. Then we got the PVC series. Like, we were never truly satisfied until Masterpiece came and did it. Like that, we all strive for that. We all want that perfect Transformer toy that's show accurate and transforms. Yeah. That's why nothing that came before and nothing that will come after will never be better than, say, an MP10 until they do something that's MP10 and better that still transforms. But
MP10 plus.
Well, I can't even imagine how they could still make that better. I think that.
But that's just it. You don't know until it's actually.
Well, I've seen more expensive price points. I've seen more expensive representations, but they don't transform. Again, Hot Toys, they're trying to do their own thing. It's more expensive than MP10, but it doesn't transform. Ulti-Metal, I respect it. I think it's awesome. I wish I owned one myself, but I don't. Because it doesn't transform, that's the part that in the back of every trans fan head, it makes them go, it's awesome, but it still doesn't turn into a truck. And that, that's what stops us all. That's what makes us look at those Titan rubber figures in retail and go, ugh,
Yeah.
I mean, there's aside from the fact that they're ugly painted Barbie doll figures, but the point is that they're just they don't appeal to us because it doesn't have that transformation. Like recently there was that Scorponok, that what's it called, Ultimate Action Scorponok.
Right.
Gorgeous figure.
Not worth the price point. That's what threw me off. The price point killed everyone.
Because it doesn't transform, despite the fact that it stands toe-to-toe with Fortress Maximus, it bothers a lot of people. And that's the funny thing, too, because Scorponok's transformation... What?
It's like 6 joints to make him transform.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, and Scorponok as a toy to begin with is not something that's very complicated for transformation. I mean, you
drop him down, put him on his back, and
he lays down and folds up.
Yeah,
right.
but because it doesn't officially transform and turn into a city mode and stuff, people hesitate. Where I guarantee that if that Ultimetal toy was at that same price point but was able to transform, people would have been scrambling for it.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Bought it right away.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
That's why third party finds its market, is because it's able to do something unlicensed, expensive as hell, but because it's able to transform and look sexy, it's the game breaker with everybody. Where we get stuff that's official product, looks gorgeous, 3 digits, expensive, but doesn't transform, we glaze over it. Look at Ultimetal Optimus Prime. We respect it, but at the same time we go,
Somewhat. I agree with you somewhat. But getting back to the topic, Bryce, loose, boxed, sealed, where are you at?
A mixture of loose and boxed. My Japanese stuff, mostly all of it's boxed.
But it's open.
In like 2 boxes. Yeah, I'm not going to keep stuff sealed. If I can't transform it, take pictures, I don't want it.
There you go.
I got a sealed piece here. I'm trying to trade it off for an open one, just because I don't open it.
Yep.
There you go.
Because he's a Masterpiece collector, it's all about appreciate and Masterpiece toys. Anyone that keeps those sealed, come on, man.
It's just a black box with a picture.
It's a black box. You're rattling. I'll give you the empty box, so you get the same experience.
I mean, I've got a sealed Black Shadow, so I can't say anything. I haven't opened it. I'm not going to open it.
Well, Chad, I got a question, and with the Masterpieces coming boxed like they are, and it's nothing really visible of the toy other than photo packaging, is there really any need to be even considering, because the boxes are so collectors friendly now, you can put them back in the box and have minimal damage showing anywhere. Being a master, is there a Masterpiece that you would think needed to be graded and saved?
Like this.
I don't think there is.
I mean, you have this nice little artwork, but as far as you're right, as far as the toy goes, there's.
I'll give credit to the Japanese Masterpiece boxes. They have a very uniform look to them, especially the recent cars. I love how the sides of all the boxes show the cars in vehicle mode, and you can literally, I lined up, all the Lamborghinis, all the Datsuns. There's a very uniform look to it. I respect the boxes. They're really cool, but, I mean, to be a mint-in-box Masterpiece collector is...
The toys don't need to be in the box.
Yeah, well,
just play the boxes by themselves with the toy.
It's my biggest argument when it comes to mint-in-box collecting in general, for all toy lines, is that, and I talked with Bryce about this before we went live. I was like, when you buy action figures in general, this is most of the story. I mean, if you don't open it, there's no surprises. It's Luke. He's got a lightsaber. Probably goes in that hand. Probably, articulated here.
Might.
It might not. Maybe it doesn't. But most of the story is there. But then when you get to a Transformer toy, and the thing with the way Transformer toys are displayed too, which is something that's existed since '84, and it was interesting when I read the Transformer Legacy book, they talked about the marketing idea, which was really smart, was they would put the packaging would be, the toy would be in vehicle mode for shipping reasons, and it would be an excuse to show the vehicle mode as a toy, and then have really nice art of the robot mode. That way you get both in one shot. That was the idea in 1984 for Hasbro, was to have the art would be the robot mode, and the toy itself would be in vehicle mode to show both in person when you're looking at the front of the box, and without having to flip it over. But I found that as a result of that method, to be a minted box collector for Transformers would be crazy, because this is what you're enjoying. You're enjoying the vehicle mode. You're not enjoying the best part of a Transformer. If it was gorgeously put in robot mode in packaging, there's that slight amount of me that would go, okay, that's kind of cool then. Yeah, it looks really nice in the packaging. Like Don said when he had Jetfire, you know, here's a leader class. It's in robot mode already. It looks really nice because it's in robot mode, but I guarantee that Don wouldn't have thought that if it was in jet mode stuck like that. I think you probably would have thought twice. And because of that, because Transformer toys by nature in general, except for a few exceptional price points, in general they're packaged in vehicle mode, it leads to people not wanting to keep it mint in package. And the most important thing, like I go back to Luke over here, this is the whole story. If you open it up, there's not going to be much surprises. You don't open up a Transformer toy and enjoy it, and the puzzle aspect of it, you're missing, you know, 90% of the story of the toy. You're looking at it mint in package, but you're not. There's a whole other toy to what you're seeing there. There's more than meets the eye. There's so much there. And
speaking of opposite modes. Even though Japanese reflector, because he was packed in robot mode.
Exactly. That's just it. That's what they did.
Camera on front.
And it was really clever, and it was the Legacy book. If you guys ever get a chance, pick this up. There's a lot of interesting there's a lot of interesting stuff written inside it, but they were talking about the marketing aspect of it, where they made sure whatever was shown in the packaging would be the opposite for the art, which was really smart. And for me, like, as a collector, I can't look at a Transformer toy mint in package and enjoy it like that, because I want to open it up and mess with it. And even like in Bryce's case, I had like almost all my Japanese G1 I got mint in box, but then I cracked that sucker open. And let me tell you something about Japanese G1. All of it doesn't have windows in general, except for the later Operation Combination and Star Convoy stuff, but most of what do you call it? Of Master Force, when it was bigger figures, you couldn't really see it. When it was Victory, you couldn't really see it. They kept it in a closed box, like a Victory Leo or a Star Saber or a Six Knight. I mean, I could go on and on. With the exception of, like, say, the Pretender shells, you know, like when we're talking, like
Kaiser gift sets.
Kaiser.
Yeah, like that when you're talking the
open.
heroes were kept in these boxes that were enclosed, and you had to open them up. You had to open them up, and you had to appreciate them in the Breastmaster gimmick or the Brainmaster gimmick, and it's just, to me, Transformers are such a hand-on toy that it's the last toy on the planet, instead of Masters of the Universe or Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers or G.I. Joe. It is the only toy line that you are truly selling yourself short by keeping it carded or keeping it in the box, because there's so much gimmick to it. There's so much fun to it as a toy, and toys are about having fun, that you're missing it. Yeah. You're missing out on it.
Unless, of course, it's Generation Cheetor, then keep that damn thing in the box.
Well, you know, I mean, even like Lucky Draw, like, you know, I mean, you may have messed with a Rodimus, but I mean, I still crack open that sucker. You know,
did you get that on the Toy Hunter? Is that where you got that?
Toy Hunter. I hate that guy. No, but like, it's just in general, like, I'm very hands-on. I mean, I can't imagine. I think the only time I've never opened something was when I got like a double of it, and then I'm like, okay, now I'll have one sealed and one not opened, and that's only me, like, when it's. But if it's a singular figure, every single one of my, like, I mean, I got a sealed Sky Gary, mind you, again, the exception to the rule because there were so plentiful of them. Got a sealed Sky Gary, cracked open into that. I can't think of any TF toys that I didn't, let loose from their plastic prisons, so to speak. And when it comes to FAA grading, that's a whole other thing that I just can't even wrap my head around. Yeah, hey, maybe as a joke to have an FAA graded G1 hot rod, sure, but to actively collect it, number one, like you said, Brett, space, whoa, that's a whole other. I mean, I have, like, almost all my G1 toys, I have the original boxes. I actually own them with the original boxes. And I have them all in storage, and sometimes I wish I didn't have to keep the foam, although that would diminish the value. But if I didn't have the foam, I'd fucking flatten all those boxes even and just, like, store them away. But
it's like when we were at TFCon, there was a dealer there right as you go in the dealer's room.
We're talking TFCon Chicago, Don?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. When you walked right in.
Right in.
That's all he had.
Only
was
that.
AFA graded, and there's something about seeing them graded in a box to know that this will stay. And you have to have grown up to a degree with G1 to appreciate the box art. I'm not saying you can't go back and appreciate it, but when I was a kid, going into Kmart, going into whatever store I was going into, heck, even drugstores back then were carrying. I found Brainstorm at a drugstore.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing that box and the way it looked, and this is going to sound crazy, but the smell.
You're crazy.
Yeah, the G1 boxes had this
plastic smell.
Yeah, well, it was a mix of new plastic and cardboard, and nothing smelled like opening up a new Transformer. And there's a visceral. I mean, yes, it sounds crazy, but if you open up a G1,
I agree. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's like there's a connection. Opening it up, the plastic and the cardboard and all that stuff. But the ones that he had graded, knowing they would be that beautiful forever, made me happy because someone is going to see their favorite figure there, and they don't want to open it. They've got one open, but they want one that is mint. But me paying what they bring and not being able to open it if I didn't already have one.
Exactly.
That would drive me crazy.
And that's the organic experience where if you were a Star Wars collector, and ignore that this is a new figure, but it's like if it was a 1978, Luke Skywalker, mint on card, everything, the good thing at least about it is that even if you had it mint on card and graded, you could appreciate the figure from every angle more or less what he is holding.
Exactly.
But
half the figure, half the figure wasn't hidden.
Difficult to enjoy the figure like this. You know what I mean? Transformers are just that is what has made this toy line so prevalent and last as long as it has and made it so special was because of the magic of it being more than one thing, being more than what you thought it was. I don't want to just freaking quote more than meets the eye, but just literally that. And the FAA grading, there's the appreciation more of the preservation of history, if anything. I think that's the only thing that I could understand from it really is to be able to have that mint in box G1 85 skids. That was one per case, and here it is in perfect condition, fresh from that one per case G1 skids. Oh man, the box is amazing. It still has the bubble. You're holding something as if it looked like it came right out of 1985 off of the shelves, where you could go to BotCon every single year and you're going to find tons of skids with their boxes, but they'll probably be out of the bubble's ripped. You won't find it like pristine perfect. It'll be a removed G1 toy, especially for people who know how G1 toys were packaged back then and how they were held together. You'll find a lot of mint in box ones, but they'll still be removed from that bubble, so it's just I could understand that. I could have that organic experience, but me personally, like it's the money thing. It's the money thing. Like for me, I rather put the money that would be an FAA graded skids, which would probably be, I'm going to take a shot in the dark here. Brett could probably correct me. $500 minimum.
No clue.
You don't know either, right? Okay.
I haven't. Like I said, I'm on the precipice here. I'm just
okay
teetering, and I'm like, that's why I went towards these where you could open them, because I get the best of both worlds. It's less expensive. I mean, I know a lot of people diss AFA, but those, especially if you went right before, at their Black Friday sale, those cases are only like, some of them are $15, some of them are $20. That's pretty cheap. So you're not talking about a whole crap load of money, and
until
they're not graded. It's not graded. So
yeah, but it's when I encounter the dealer at Chicago, and there you're staring at like, oh wow, here's G1 Ironhide. I mean, a mint in box G1 Ironhide today will command maybe $100 on a good day. And I'm not talking sealed, I'm talking like loose complete with the original G1 box, because of reissues and because of third party, and it's a weak character in his G1 interpretation.
No doubt.
But then here you are looking at this FAA graded Ironhide, and they're asking like $600, and you just go like, wow, like who's paying that? You know, like, and I love Transformers.
Now here's the funny part. Not only do I know the guy you're talking about, I know him very well.
Well, I talked to him a little bit.
Yeah, Morgan.
He was a great guy.
Yeah, he's very, very much into, and he's at that level to preserve
history. I agree.
Honestly, and everyone knows that I love the '80s, but you are preserving a piece of the '80s, and I love that. Do I love it to a degree that I'm going to pay it and have it in my house? Not yet, but still. And I asked him, I said, I mean, do you get a lot of people? And he goes, yeah. I mean, people, they're out there. So we talked about the different spectrums, to loose to AFA graded. We're all in there, brother. I mean, there's people at one spectrum and the other.
Recently,
that someone can make their money off of AFA graded stuff.
Me personally, like, I mean, I kind of reached that point when something is sealed but it's not rare. These were actually recent. I took them off the bubbles and I put them in the display. But in general, I mean, I open up almost everything. Like it has to be to that point where I look at, like, it had to be like that Megatron where it's like, oh man, yeah, now we're talking money. You know, I mean,
right.
A GoBot from G2 is $5 on a good day. You know, so it doesn't make a difference. But yeah, there's certain things that, I mean, you're talking to a guy that, when you really think about it, when you go to BotCon and you get all your souvenir exclusives, they come in baggies. You could technically not rip open those baggies and make some serious coin, or you could rip them open and enjoy the figures. I rip them open and enjoy the figures. You know,
exactly.
and I got them all. You know, like, they're all like, there's all the boxes. Jesus, just keeps going there, but. You know, they line the wall practically, but I like the boxes. They look pretty.
Yeah.
But it's just, I won't deny Fun Pub that much. But it's one of those things that I can't, FAA grade, I can never. It would be but to give you a CCG, which is the comic book version of that, as a joke, what I did, and this is like, actually, I want to actually bring it. Hold on a second, just to show you. Had to run to the comic book room for a second there. But as a joke, what I did was, because I once joked with a friend about CGC, which is like what they do for comic books, the grading. And I said to myself, like, oh man, that's so silly, you know. I mean, I understand if it's a rare comic book, but you really want to enjoy it and everything. And it's just, I was like, oh, I would never do that. And then I went to a convention, and I saw a guy, he had a whole bunch of CGC stuff. And I saw one, and I was just like, man, for $20, I gotta own it. And it was a joke because in the Simpsons universe, the rarest comic book, the action comics #1 of the Simpsons universe is Radioactive Man #1. So I got it. I don't know why. It was $20, and because to me, this is almost a gag. That's what it is, and it's the same thing. Like I would own a Rodimus one, almost more of a gag than it would be just because I'm thinking of value.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, I have the rarest comic book in the Simpsons universe graded at 9.2. You know? Oh yeah, you know, like it's just.
You rock.
I rock, and that is the.
You know,
it's like owning Action Comics #1 at 9.2.
But I'll be honest, with comics, I think there's a need for the comic grading a bit more than toys.
Well,
because, like the Action Comics first appearance of Superman.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, and the thing is,
went for $3 million.
The thing is, with comics is you could preserve it and have it now pristine, and you could still enjoy it because there's so many digital means to be able to read it.
Right.
The product tangibility to enjoyment is a lot more easy to transition. Same thing with video games. I've seen people that grade video games mint in box, and you could grade a mint in box Super Mario 1, and then there's millions of venues to then play Super Mario Brothers 1 cheaply or free even. And it's the same thing with comic books, with digital downloads and everything. So it's just that toys, because of the tangibility, and I'm going to go back to this again, there's this, but then there's this. And that's where Transformers get more complicated. And I was actually having this discussion with someone not too long ago, too. Name one other toy line that is prevalent in 100% reissues outside of Ninja Turtles or the recent Ninja Turtles and Transformers. It doesn't really exist. Transformers is the only toy line that has, like, they're on a mad quest to reissue all the old toys. Like one by one perfect reissues. Not so much the boxes, but the toys themselves. There's no other toy line that exists like that. Star Wars never really tried to attempt that. He-Man never really tried to attempt that. What other 80s toy lines? The Thundercats, or it's only really Transformers that did that, and because that exists, that also kind of makes the FAA grading kind of pointless, because yeah, you'll own this perfect graded version, but then there's so many other ways to enjoy the toy through cheaper means if you're willing to take a reissue, and a lot of reissues are pretty dead on. I mean, from a plastic quality standpoint, Takara reissue commemoration Hot Rod is no different than the original '86 one. I mean, they're all fairly the same, but it's just it's such a loaded topic with me. There's so many different things about it, and all the different. I mean, when does the grading stop? I mean, are people going to be grading Beast Wars Rocky card backs, or it's a Blue Eye Cheetor Rocky card back? People are going to be grading that, or are we going to get to the point that one day we're going to be seeing Armada toys doing that? I hope not. Oh,
man. C10 Armada Laserbeak.
C10 Laserbeaks. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see like the C10 Laserbeak. Like in the perfect like $400 C10 Laserbeak.
Flawless victory.
That's when I flip the table over and I'm like, I'm done. I'm going home. We're taking my toys and going home. Yeah.
I think this it's all going to boil down to basically, if it's something that means a lot to you personally and you want that thing to stay as it is for as long as you own it, it's a great thing to do. But if you're doing it for investment purposes, if you're doing it for other reasons, I don't see it as being a viable option. But the thing is, when you're talking investments, and this is always a key word I tell people, when you're investing in something, you want to make sure it's something that when you do decide to sell it, there's a market that's willing to buy it. I find that FAA is so niche. It is so niche that if you have that perfect Megatron, and yeah, it's $1,700 or whatever, there's only so many people that would even, entertain the idea of giving you that kind of money. Yeah.
It's like according to Brett and you said that guy made money that weekend. hey, he had 3 tables. I hope so. I hope
Yeah.
so. He invested the time and the money to show up. I hope he did make money. I never wish for any dealer of my convention to not do well, because then they'll not want to come back. You know.
But it's just seeing them graded. I mean, seeing them graded. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here. It's just visually, they were so beautiful. You know, just gorgeous, and they were pristine. They were beautiful. They were in these clear, nice cases. I mean, I'm thinking, if you don't have one of those and you don't ever open it, you will never get the full enjoyment for that toy.
We have on Brett's
just
window
grabbed
right
one.
now. He's looking at an auction here. Could you show me the price on that one?
Well, that's just it. I was going to savor it. Just for the heck of it, this is a Starscream, which to a lot of people,
pretty nice.
Their favorite character, rightfully so, very prominent in the G1 history.
That's a good box.
It's a very good collection piece here, specimen. It looks like it graded at an 80, which I never knew this, but you will not see a 10. You will very rarely see anything over a 9. Normally, you'll see something that you will look at and say, man, that is dead mint. We'll get an 8.5 or an 85, however you look at it. So this is very, very close to being top-notch. Here's the asking price. Are you ready? Sitting down?
Mm.
All right.
$1,600. Now, I don't know what AFA grading stuff goes for, but I can tell you that that's a lot more than I'm willing to spend. But how many of those are out there?
Could you go to completed auctions of FAA graded Transformers? I just want to see what people are paying for whatever there is. Let's just do that right now.
Let me take a look. The other thing to remember is and it's one thing that's really neat on AFA, I'm pretty sure that if you looked up AFA graded G1 Starscream, they'll let you know how many they have graded, how many are at a grade 80, 85, whatever.
Well, yeah,
you know how many are out there, too.
They did that for the Superman comic.
Yeah, well, I was about to say with this, too, like on the back, I could then go in and see how many people have done it of this one. And, and then, like, it'll say, like, here's my number. I'm actually the second one to have graded of this. Which, yay, okay, whatever. But
right, but what I'm saying is that if you wanted to invest in something, would you rather invest in one of 10 or one of 10,000? Well, of course you're going to want to invest in one of 10 if you think that it's wanted, because there's less of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do understand that, and you can always go on their website, which I think is a neat idea that they
track
categorize all of them. It's constantly upgrading.
Well, that's the added selling point, is the fact that it's like a tag.
Well, rightfully
item.
so.
It's like a Ferrari, you know, like they tag them and they know where they all are in the world, kind of. It's one of those things. I know, and I understand. That's pretty cool, you know, about that. But it's just like, to give you an example, like, okay, so here's some. Let's see that. Let's see.
Well,
some.
I hate these because these are best offers, so you don't really know. So let me get.
Yeah, you don't really know what they.
Okay, here you go. This is an AFA graded 80 Jetfire, $500.
You know what's funny about that? There was a time where a non-graded mint in box open Jetfire was $500.
Yeah, that wasn't yellowed.
Yeah, that wasn't. So I mean, there was a time where that was a realistic non-FA graded price.
Now here's another one.
You get this one. Yeah, that one's a little more.
Here's the thing that kills me. Look at this picture, right here, and then look at this picture.
Exactly, it's all over the fucking place.
It's the same, but it's the same one. It's the same seller, I bet. And this stuff right here is what makes me feel that stuff like this is inflated, artificially inflated. It's not true.
No, well, that's why
that's eBay. That's eBay for you.
I know, but
with eBay.
And seeing the crazy thing is, like, that Starscream, like. You know what $1,500 gets you with Transformers? I mean, you could tackle the whole Victory line with $1,500. You could like stuff that you would be really proud to own. But let me tell you something. If you own that Starscream, you know what? You might look at it, but then you're going to look at every other guy that got Starscream loose complete and is enjoying it and transforming it right now in front of you for $15. You know, and it's just.
Well, I will say two things. One, at least with the Starscream being AFA graded, you won't lose the landing gear.
True. But here's the thing that blows my mind. All right. This is what I don't understand.
It's a loose one.
They grade loose ones.
What?
And here is a Shockwave that is in really good shape and
probably the
graded,
rubber hose.
and it's sold for $290, where you can get a loose one for $100, probably in the same shape.
Now that's silly. Now you're taking your toy and you're putting it in a box and saying you can't touch it now.
Right. Now that I have an issue with. I just don't see the purpose in that.
That is.
But then again, different collecting mentalities, different this, different that. I mean, if that's what you want, that's your boat, you sail it.
That is a whole. And you're talking to someone that has, I have like lucky draws and prototypes and all this stuff, but like, why would you take a loose figure and throw it in a box and grade it?
But the cool thing is.
But it's out there.
Yeah. No matter what you're looking for, you can probably find it at our sponsors.
Yes. We have sponsors.
Yeah. And of course, our first sponsor is Capture Prey. Great toys, great service, great prices. CapturePrey.com. Especially with a lot of things coming out now. Utopia is on the way for those of you looking at a more classics version of Metroplex. Quantron has been out for a while. The third-party Technobot combiner. RC Chromias are shipping to a lot of places. So this holiday season, if you can't put it out in the wild, check out our first sponsor, Capture Prey, and our second sponsor, of course, Megamus. Who is that? I can't remember who that is.
Make a Toy Fan. And do we do just Transformers? No. We also do, as of this week, we are doing Legos.
Now, is that the Royal We? Like, we do everything. Is that like the Royal We? Or?
We you name it. If we can make money off, we're going to do it. But here it is.
Truth in advertising.
Hey, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
But here
we'll
it is.
We'll be selling carpets next week.
Do you need some carpet?
Oh, but I have always loved the Imperial Shuttle. I've always loved that Imperial Shuttle.
It is neat. I just now put this one together.
And I just want to do one. I want to do one shout out myself. Third-party guy that actually finally got something off the ground. Rise of the Beasts. This mofo right here. Go to riseofthebeast.com. It's a third-party Battle Beast line. Took 2 years to make, and it finally happened. So check that one out too. John Karras' Rise. I actually picked up a few of his stuff, and they're pretty awesome.
Nice.
So,
Anyways, anything else you want to talk about, boys, or we're going to wrap it up? It's almost 11 p.m.
Yeah,
we're good.
Yeah. The only thing I want to bring up is, I mentioned this last week, for those of you fans that are out and about, be sure if when you're out at the Toys R Us's, your Walmarts, your Kmarts, wherever you might be, if you see parents having trouble or grandparents having trouble with toys, help them out. We know this stuff better than they do, and you can make a difference between having the perfect gift for the kid or them getting an Action Master.
Yep. They want Bumblebee. There's a lot of Bumblebees. Help them out. Make sure Grandma doesn't get a bumping Battler Bumblebee.
And
soap bottle Bumblebee.
Yeah.
And if you if you run into a real good sale, be sure to consider picking up one for Toys for Tots, the Salvation Army, whatever your local businesses are doing in this Christmas season, because it doesn't hurt us that much, and it could really make a kid.
Number one, you're helping a kid. Number two, you're doing something good.
Yeah.
Number three, and this is the most important one also on top of helping the kid, if everyone did that, we'd clear up those shelves quicker and we could get some new inventory. Yeah?
No, I heard Massey.
Get rid of those beast hunters that are sticking around. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I heard Massey. I thought he was doing a flying leap because it's like he was leaping off the back of the chair. I all y'all see is just a big thing of fur and me just going over the side, you know.
All right then. So this has been.
There was one other thing.
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah, play with this too.
Oh yeah.
Make sure you check them out. They're actually putting out online your suggestions to some of their items and products that they're putting out for the pretenders. Oh, not pretenders, and ideas. So make sure you jump on there and give them your ideas. You know, give them hell, whatever. If you don't like it, tell them you don't like it. If you want to see something different, tell them you want to see something different. They want to know. That's one of those instances where they want your opinion. Give it to them.
Yeah. And I will say I am not much of a pretender person. Other than Metal Hawk, I really don't have a lot of pretenders that I would, you know, dash to save out of a burning building. But the one that they've got planned that looks like Max Ray from Centurions, I kind of like that one.
Yeah, there's some. They got some good ideas, but I mean, they're asking for opinions, what people want. So if they're asking, hell, I mean, that's what the internet was about giving your opinion, even if it doesn't matter. So, do it. Now I'm done.
Now you're done.
Now
so this has been episode 133 of TFYLP, Transformers for your listening pleasure. That's a tongue twister, that one sometimes. So, we have Megamis, say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Don, say goodbye with Massey.
Goodbye, everybody. Massey, don't kill me.
Bryce.
Have a good evening, peoples.
I'm the goddamn Proto-Man, the legend. I'm going to take care. See you guys next time. Roll out.
Later, everybody.
Later.